On May 22nd, APD officers shot and killed a knife-wielding man who had allegedly attacked his girlfriend and then slashed the throat of a man trying to come to her aid. This was the third fatal shooting by APD officers since the U.S. Department of Justice released a scathing report on APD's use of force. Demonstrators have taken to the streets and stormed Albuquerque City Council meetings demanding sweeping changes in policing. And there is a march planned for June 21st. And Jewel Hall, a prominent community activist with the Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial Center, is raising concerns about the community having input on APD reforms. Joining us to give insight on this topic is Russell Contreras, a reporter with the Associated Press. Also joining us is Marisa DeMarco, co-founder of the New Mexico Compass and a reporter for KUNM Radio. We also welcome Dan McKay, who's with the Albuquerque Journal, and rounding out our table is Jeff Proctor, first time here, field producer, for the investigative team at KRQE 13. Thank you all for being here. Russell, people are clearly itching for change here, and I'm wondering if we are seeing a little bit of a fulcrum point where some change, we have enough pieces in place where some change might be possible here. Let's talk about that first. Is change imminent? And what would it look like?
Well, you see, what's happening now is the protesters are now organizing their civil disobedience. They're pressing for more reform. And they want reform now. And this comes at a time where the city's negotiating with the Justice Department on pending reforms.
Right.
But those reforms are going to take some time. Right now, the protesters are losing patience. They want some concrete efforts to be placed before them. And I think that's the tension you're going to see now. You also see among the demonstrators and critics of the police some kind of moving around and sort of taking credit. Well, we did this. We've been here for years. We're the ones that stepped up. Look at me. You need to focus on me. I need to be part of this discussion. So, what the danger is when you have that kind of tension, it may take away the focus away from pending reforms and then get into the nuances of internal political battles. But I do think that the pressure and the desire for reform is there. The question now is, how fast is it going to come?
Sure, and what will be accepted by the community? Dan McCabe, you cover City Council along with Russell. Do you think we've changed in our protest here in Albuquerque? Has something changed since that silent protest at City Council? Can we expect a whole new style at this point, do you think?
It's hard to say. The City Council, I think, feels, and the mayor, feel a bit defensive. They feel like the council in particular, that their authority is limited. They can't hire or fire the police chief.
Sure.
They feel like they provide the open forum where people show up and express their opinions, but perhaps they don't. They bear the brunt of the criticism, even though they're not running the police department every day. And there probably is some truth to that. Although I think also, it's valid to argue that they haven't done enough or acted quickly enough. I think the thing that really changed the environment, as far as I can tell, is the March shooting of James Boyd, the homeless camper in the foothills. I think that is when everything really changed, when people saw what happened on video and compared it to how police had described the incident. In my view, that's when the conversation really changed.
Yeah, absolutely. Jeff Proctor, welcome here. First time. Glad you're here. Question about, we now know a little bit more about the contract with Taser and catch us up to speed on what's happening there, because it seems like this is an overlay on top of what's happening now with DOJ, as if it wasn't thick enough. This makes the whole story a little bit thicker. What's the latest here with Taser?
We have a couple of different things happening. There was a sole source contract that was done with Taser International for the body cameras and for the cloud-based data storage where the videos actually go to be stored. And then they've made a number of smaller purchases over the course of a long period of time for the stun guns. The broader context, of course, for that.
I'll stop you there.
Sure.
I noticed there were four payments, I think, were dug up. Low four figures into a five-figure payment. And no small change here. It was a lot of money.
That's right. And the sole source that they did is actually for $1.9 million. And those contracts were facilitated by the former chief of police, Ray Schultz, who is now working for Taser as a consultant. So there was a series of emails that we reported on at Channel 13 that sort of illuminated the relationship between Schultz and that company. The broader context, of course, for the city's relationship with Taser is that the DOJ report spent considerable time and effort to point out the fact that the use of the stun guns was a huge part and contributor to the way that police used excessive force against citizens here. Moreover, the body camera policies that were in place here, there's been a really uneven application and enforcement of those policies. So it's a pretty rich thing to sort of dig into with these contracts, which are now the focus of 3 different government investigations, that sort of laid over the top of these products that are made by this one company seem to be part of what the Justice Department described as a pattern or practice of violating people's constitutional rights.
Interesting. Marisa, your organization, the Mexico Compass, filed a FOIA request to get at the bottom of a lot of the things we're talking about here. What's been your experience now with APD? You know, Dan mentioned they're in a defensive posture. How did that play out for you guys?
Yeah, it was actually a pretty crazy story. We filed a request for all audio and video recordings of 24 fatal shootings since 2010. And then on May 1, we got word that we could go pick them up. We just needed about $1,200. Our organization is completely unfunded, so we didn't have the cash. But we got some funding from Citizen Media Group, which is Carolyn Carlson and Citizen Media Group, and also KUNM. And so we had the cash together, and of course first we're asking like, hey, can we maybe come down and view the records, or can we take them on our own thumb drives and maybe we don't have to pay? It's $20 they charged us per DVD and $20 per audio cassette.
And that would not be unusual for folks that are not in the press at home. That's not an unusual way to go about it.
Right, you can always go down and maybe, you know, see the records in person and take notes and not take them away, and then you don't pay the fee. So they said no, none of that was an option. So we got the cash together, and I went down to the office. I paid the money. I got the records, and then they came back with the money and said the city attorney had called down and said that we couldn't have the records. But we had them in our hands, and so I basically just said that we probably weren't going to give them back. And it was some tense moments down there, and then eventually they said that we could leave and accepted our payment. And then subsequently, we've been looking through the records and found that they're labeled in a really like hard to parse way. We're not sure that everything that was listed on the invoice is what we got. We find that in working with New Mexico Foundation for Open Government, that news outlets are charged a broad variety of prices for these records and sometimes don't pay anything at all. The city's own website says that it should be charging $5 per DVD, where we were charged $20. So that whole story, it was kind of a surprise to me that it was so mishandled at a time when there is such scrutiny on the department, and when trust is such an issue and transparency is such an issue in this whole conversation. So yeah, that's where we are now, is that we're basically digging through that content and trying to figure out what we're going to do with it. Some of it's in really weird file formats, and we have to figure out how to open them.
Wow.
So it is hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of material, but there's a really good team of journalists that are working on it.
Right. You know, Russell, interestingly, the administration, or APD I should say, has hired a communications director, Janet Blair, an ex-news person. And getting to Marisa's point about transparency, as I read some of the early quotes that have come from her about some of the requests, and Jeff, I'd like you to weigh in on this as well, it doesn't seem like transparency has sort of taken root even quite yet. Do you know what I mean? It's still a little defensive. Where have you seen this new hire come into work for APD yet?
Well, we do know when there's investigations like this, it's not unusual for the department to get a communications specialist, someone who's not an officer, to kind of facilitate this. So that's not unusual. What I think right now is they're trying to figure out when and how should they do this with a pending Justice Department investigation, without getting themselves more in trouble. Because what really boils down to is, yes, they have all these problems, but they also have a PR problem. Sometimes a lot of these problems are self-inflicted. If you give the media access to records when they request them, usually it's a 1 or 2 news cycle thing, and it kind of goes away. When you hold them, or you say, well, it's a pending investigation, or we're still looking at the video and then we find that the video doesn't exist, it becomes not just a 1 or 2 news cycle thing, it becomes almost a month-long thing.
Right.
And then it becomes part of the narrative. And then critics will then latch on this and say, see, this is what we told you. This is part, you can't trust them. And so that's the problem right now. And I think what Janet is going to be there is also going to look at strategy. Yes, give the information, but then also, okay, when it's available, try to get it out as soon as possible. And I think, she's still new there, so we don't know how it's going to function, but I think that's the purpose of what the Justice Department really wants.
That makes sense. Jeff, I remember reading a quote from her about she had some issue with your style of reporting at 13. And I just found that kind of odd. Not to defend the press fully, she has her side of it, as Russell says, but at the same time, that doesn't sound like an opening salvo that's moving towards transparency and some kind of a better relationship. How did you guys take that at your shop?
Well, I think there's been ongoing transparency issues with the police department. The experience that Marisa was discussing that the Compass is having now, I mean, we've dealt with these kinds of things for a number of years now. As far as the dust up, for lack of a better way to put it, that we had, it actually wasn't a use of force story. It was a totally different story that Mac Grubbs and I were working on a story for a Friday night. We reached out to them for comment. It was a pretty heavy story. The allegation was that a police officer had essentially failed to investigate a child porn allegation, and that the suspect in that case had subsequently gone and raped his teenage daughter while this investigation was not taking place. So we reached out for comment several different times on the day that the story was going to air, and we just simply heard nothing. Wow. No comment, not we're looking into it, just nothing.
Which is worse than no comment.
It was a Friday,
Yeah.
and so the weekend passed, and I felt like the community still deserved answers on the story for how this took place.
Sure.
So I reached back out a couple of times trying to get an answer, and was basically told that there is no comment and we're not going to comment because we don't like the way you cover the police department. So that felt, I mean, it was certainly off-putting.
Yeah.
That not only are we not going to say anything and provide an answer on this important story, at least in my view, but we're refusing to comment because we don't like the tone of your reporting. There were no issues raised factually with the reporting. It was the fact that we were reporting on something that they didn't want us to report. So that obviously raises a huge red flag from a standpoint of repairing community relations, which they've expressed an interest in doing, and in this sort of broader, I don't like the word transparency all that much, it's sort of a political buzzword now, but the bottom line is we ought to be able to see how this sausage is made. And this doesn't help.
That's right. Dan McKay, we're wrapping up here in just a little bit, going back to Taser for a little bit and transparency. It seems like the circle's closing a little bit tighter here on how this all came about. I find it hard to believe, I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago, I find it hard to believe that no one on City Council had any idea this sole source contract was going through. And I'll add to that, and last week my colleague Gwyneth Dolan sat right in this seat and asked the two consultants that the mayor's using from Cincinnati that the public does not need to know the nature of the contract that they have with Taser. I have to wonder how much the public is going to accept what these fellas have to say at the end of the day if they don't want to be transparent about their own dealings with the city. Do you see what I mean? There's a bit of a trust issue that's being dealt with here. How do you see that from your view?
Well, I think that Scott Greenwood and Tom Stryker, they need to be really careful about anything that damages their credibility. The Mayor Richard Berry's administration already faces reasonable skepticism about how these things happened on your watch, and now you expect us to trust you to fix them.
Right.
And part of the way the Berry administration has answered that is by saying, well, we've got these outside consultants who've been through it in Cincinnati. So I think that the cloud over Taser is something that they should take seriously, and they should answer honestly, because it will help the credibility. But we'll see.
As they say, that's right, exactly. Marisa, again, back on what the community will accept. And it's hard to muse out and kind of think about this in the future tense, but as Russell points out, the DOJ report is yet to come down. I'm wondering after all this time, in your opinion, if anything less than replacing the chief and the whole command system, like a whole redo is going to be acceptable for the community at this point. What's your thought on that?
You can talk about replacing the people at the top, who are the people that we see on camera all the time, who are answering questions. But you have to wonder if we're talking about a much kind of bigger systemic change that needs to take place. And I think you can't expect to see any change unless information is reaching journalists and reaching the public. There will be no good feeling about this until there is a lot more honesty and answers from people. And that can come from not just the new police chief, but from people who work in the system and who work at APD. There's this kind of accepted practice where press is not allowed really to talk to officers or to people who are actually doing that work. And we've all just kind of gotten used to that as protocol, but it doesn't really need to be that way. So I really think that we need to see more people talking about it, and we need a lot more information before anyone's going to start to feel better about the police department.
Thank you all for being here. You guys have done great work with this story, and I appreciate your last point there. The public's need to know here is huge in these types of stories, and you guys are doing great work with it. Thank you for being here. And thank you all for your comments and insight, and we'll see you next time. As always, all of us here at New Mexico in Focus appreciate your time and your effort to stay informed and engaged. Catch up with us anytime on social media by searching New Mexico in Focus, and you can find archived interviews and often bonus material from our shows on our YouTube channel and at newmexicoinfocus.org. I'm Gene Grant. We'll see you next week in Focus.